Hello everyone, so if you follow my channel you'll see that there's lots of videos on there of me doing pitched roof, which I really enjoy, but today we've got exact opposite of that. We've got a flat roof. So we've got this little job here. It's a little flat roof extension, about 3 meters, I don't know if you see with the sun there, 3 meters wide, about 12 meters along. Nice little cute one. We're going to put a warm roof on here, which basically means that the insulation goes sort of above the joists. So first job of the day, we've got this scaffold set up here, almost goes to the end, but you know, you can't have it all. I've got my level, I don't know if you can just see up the end there, can we get in the line of the level? Got my level set up at the end there, so I've spied a line across onto that wall and put a chalk line through. That light that's hanging down there slightly in the way. So we've got these 7x2s here, which we will now fix to this wall using M10 Fisher fixings. Probably going to put maybe upgrade to chemical fixings afterwards, but anyway, we'll get those fixed along there first, and then we can look at putting some joists across. There's a couple of big lanterns to go in here. I think there's a 2 meter by 1 meter lantern this end and a 1 meter by 1.5 meter lantern that end. What I'm going to try and do here, I've got 7x2 joists, and this is only a 2.8 meter span, so they're plenty big enough. What I'm going to do hopefully here is cut half of the furring out of the joists and then use the offcut of the furring to finish the furring off up to the wall. But I hope that makes sense. But anyway, waffling on. Let's get this plate on the wall first, and then we can go from there. Pretty fresh this morning. I know I've got one of my roofing videos that I did in last year where it was getting up to 40 degrees. I think we're about -2 here, so you can see everything's a little bit frosty. So we've got to go careful, but I think the sun's out, so hopefully the temperature will get up as we get going. So anyway, let's get on. Right, that's this wall plate all fixed on. I'll quickly show you. I get asked quite a few comments about how I fix these on, and basically what I use here is these M10 by 100mm frame style Fisher fixings. They're here, really good. I like Fisher as a brand, used them for many years. Really good fixing. These have got like almost a hollow or perforated frogs in these bricks, but because of the way these screws work, they kind of grip throughout their length. So the reason I use these in the first instance like this, and I said we may well back this up with chemical fixings, but I think I've gone staggered 600 centres, so I've gone 50mm up there and then 650mm down. By using these fixings, what that enables me to do, as opposed to going straight in with sort of chemical fixings with threaded bar and plate washers, is that I can now, because these don't sort of interfere with the line of the face of the plate there, the wall plate, I can set out all the way along here, and I know none of them are going to get in the way. But yeah, so anyway, that's just a quick one there. Great, really strong fixing here. Probably be enough, to be fair. It's 2.8 metres, only taking a little bit of flat roof. So, but anyway, now what we'll do is have a look at getting some measurements back across to the outside skin there. I might be doing like cutting a toe detail in the end of this joist here, just to reduce the thickness of the roof, because obviously with a warm roof we've got 6 inches of insulation going on here, so if you're not careful you can have 150mm of joists and then 80mm of ply, 150mm of insulation, and another 80mm of ply. It makes the fascia build up really massive. So I'll have a think about that. I might do, like I said, a toe detail, which I'll show you. If not, I may just cut it off flush with the outside skin, the joist off with the outside skin, and run the decking straight over. But anyway, that's that phase done. Let's get on to these joists. Right, I just want to talk you through how I'm cutting the firrings into this joist. Basically what I'm doing is half the furring is being cut off the length of the joist and it's flipped round to make the other half. So if I just show you here, if we look down this piece of timber, I'll just show you what I've been doing. So this joist is roughly 3 metres long. The finished size I think is about 2.9. A 1 in 40 drop on this is about 72 mil. So what I'm going to do here to start with, again, because half of what I'm cutting off is going to be for the top half, I'm just going to measure down here. The measurement I've settled on is 1520. And then what I'm going to do is come down to the bottom here. I've taken into consideration the distance between the blade and the side of the shoe there, because I'm going to be screwing on this level to use as like a track. Basically, if I had a long track saw, maybe I could do it with that, but I haven't. So measure down this end. This is the outward end, 80 mil. And while I'm here, I'm just going to put. I've got a toe detail I'm putting on here to reduce the facial, as I said earlier. So the overall span to the outside of the block work is 2,750. So I'll put that mark on there, and then I'm just going to do this. We're going to cut 90 mil out of that as well, so that reduces the bulk. Hopefully it'll make sense when I do it. So I'll mark that up now, and then you can see what I'm going to do here is I've got my old Stabila level, and I've drilled a couple of holes in it so I can screw it down. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to keep this bottom end here flush with this 80 mil mark here, which is accommodating the 40 mil offset, and then when I come up here, this is that 1520 mark, and I'm going to come down 40 mil, which again is my offset. Okay. So then what I'm going to do is put that screw straight down in there and find it. The reason I put this screw opposite where the mark is that if the level isn't quite right at the bottom, this is kind of the pivot point, so it'll always be right here. So if we come down the bottom, there's that 80 mil mark we talked about earlier, so make sure that's on line. We'll put that in there. Right, one thing we found this morning is, point that at me, Bill. Sorry? Point it at me, mate. So one thing we found this morning is these saws are absolutely great, and I've done a video on these saws, how powerful they are. But because they've got these thin curved blades, this is treated timber and it's very wet. And what I found is in one pass, I'm struggling to keep it straight. So what I'm doing in this instance, and this is a brand new blade in here, so it's not like my blade's blunt. What I'm doing in this instance is I'm just going to do 2 passes, half depth, and I'm finding I'm getting a nice straight cut. So, right, so this is all set to half depth. So let's put 1 pass through first, using this, if you point on this, Bill, using this as a guide. So if you just point on this now, Bill, that'd be great. So we go first one, keep the shoe up to the level. Beautiful. And now drop the saw in a bit more, and we do the second pass. What we've got now is a really nice straight half-length furring. So what I'm going to do now is leave that level on there. Here's the other half of the furring we talked about. What I'm going to do is sneaky now is basically overhang this by about 43 mil and just put a fix in that, fix that furring on. And what that will enable us to do, you can see this will enable us to hook that over the plate that we put on the wall while we're setting out, and then we can fix them and wrap our joist hangers around afterwards. So, right, so that's how we're doing that. So we've got about 30 to do, so let's crack on. So there we go, we've had most of the morning cutting these. I don't know, I think I need 30 up here. I think we cut 25, a bit bored of it now. Anyway, it's lunchtime. Let's just have a quick look, I'll get my level. So what we've created basically is these sort of ready to go, see my shadow there, look, the sun's come out. These ready to go joists with the fall or the fairings already cut in. So we've got zero wastage, just literally look, dust on the floor. So it's taken a bit longer to cut these joists, but I say that's it, no fairings to cut now. And when you see, put that level sort of on top there, you can just see, I'm in my own shadow, sorry. You can see we've got a nice straight line. It takes a little bit of working out to make sure that the off-cut is exactly half. But as I said, we've got a little nib on the end there, which will just sit over that ledger that's on the wall, that plate that's on the wall there. A little toe detail on here just means that the decking is supported right out onto the outside edge. I might well leave, I don't know, I might leave a sort of 40 or 50 mil overhang here for a little bit of soffit just to get the fascia off the wall a little bit. But anyway, what we're going to do is have some lunch, and we've got a big lantern to go in here and a lantern to go in there. So I'm going to find out the exact measurements of those because they're really important, and then we'll start some setting out after lunch and start get some of these in. And because we're right by a road here, and as everyone knows, the cost of materials at the minute, I mean, it's come down quite a lot, but it's still expensive. So what we don't really want to be leaving is 32 sheets of 18mm OSB at whatever that is, £30–40 a sheet, and that's 7x2 treated timber at £5 or £6 a metre. So I want to get a bit of this decking in so that at the very least we can get some of this board off the side of the road so no one helps themselves to it. But anyway, we're getting on right, and it's warming up a little bit. It's probably a little bit over freezing now. So anyway, let's get some. Going to get some lunch and then we'll come back after that. Right, so we're all fueled up, sun's firing down. I've set out the back part of this. The lantern's a bit further up this end here. Unfortunately, I'm waiting back from the guy that's supplying the lanterns to give me the exact size the outside of the curb needs to be, because it's really, really important, all to do with how the drip works in the curb. So anyway, from that other end down there, I don't see what I'm looking at. From the other end, I've managed to mark 400 centres, so we're going to infill as many as we can in there now. As I said, I can hook them on because I've left that fairing over. That helps me just hook them on, and then I'll passo nail them up, and then we can come along afterwards and put the joist hangers on. So I'll set up some time lapse and let's get going. Right, so it's actually a new day and we've cracked on a bit more. Let me turn that camera around. So I've got all of the rest of these joists in, started trimming out. We've got, they're not actually lanterns, they're like a flat sort of glazed panel. And I've got to put, when I build this curb round, I've got to have a 5-degree pitch on it. But anyway, listen, they're all in. That one's trimmed out. I've just got to do these last few joists either side of that. Same for this one here. And then we can start to have a look at, spoken to the builder, he wants this cut off flush so the fascia just finishes sort of flush with the brickwork. So I'll be trimming those off. Got to cut back this eaves detail a little bit. Most of it's rotten. It's been over tacked with like a capping fascia. It's all a bit rotten. You can just see it there. So zoom that in. Look, it's not very nice there. So we're going to cut a lot of that out because this barge board has got to be a clear 100mm above the finished roof, and obviously we've still got six or so inches to go on here yet. So yeah, haven't filmed a tremendous amount of it because I think a lot of it's a bit boring. But anyway, look, we're getting on. So say get these infilled and come back to you when we start putting the ply on. Right, gosh, sun's blind. It's lovely and clear out here, and the temperature's come up a bit as well. So all of that frost, everything was covered in frost this morning, which is now melted. So progress update. We are now at the point where just my glamorous assistant is just putting on the last of these joist hangers. We've obviously got some doubles to put on around where these openings are. They're all trimmed out to the right size now. All of the infills are on. All of the firrings, obviously the slope's been cut into those. The end part of those joists as the same as these, and then the offcut's been stitched onto top back there. So our run of noggins all the way down. I'll show you how I've strapped it down to the roof. Basically, these are standard, here they are, look, sort of standard plate strap that I've just pushed down the back of this noggin, and obviously we can then nail it down the block. I don't know if you can see that. And then I just literally cut that off. So that's a nice way of fixing that because it's not obviously fixed on a plate. Probably not going to have any sort of wind uplift, but it's got to be fixed down obviously. So I've done that sort of every maximum of 1200, so that's nicely strapped on. The next job for us to do here is start putting the first row, the first layer of 80mm OSB down. I've got to pick a line here, which I'm going to do, and I'll ping a line. I'll pick the line I want, which will probably be about 20mm over, and then that way the fascia just slots straight on and leaves a tiny little shadow gap. And then I'll ping a chalk line all the way down here, so I know my first row of boards will be nice and straight. What we've got to make sure that we do before we do any of that is basically just make sure all of this area here is packed full of insulation, because obviously we don't want a cold spot, because this is where the insulated part of the warm roof is going to come. So that's got to be packed, made sure there's no voids in there, which we'll do. The other thing I'm going to do is, because I've got to build, once we've decked this, I've got to build these curbs to sit these glazed panels on. What I'm going to do with those couple of joists there, and the same with those three over there, I'm probably just going to put maybe 5 to 10mm slip on there, so it just raises that up a little bit, so that technically the water can fall down the back each side of that upstand of that curb. So, but anyway, I'm not quite sure what the builder wants to do. He might change his mind of whether there's going to be a parapet on here, but it's not going to stop me getting the first row of boarding in, and we may have to conjure something in there. If he does want me to bring it right over and he's kind of changed their mind, I might have to do something to try and fix this board on here, because obviously that's quite a big distance to just let the ply fly. So hopefully you can see down there there's not too much sun, but yeah, that's quite a big roof there now. So if I zoom it out, yeah. So anyway, nearly lunchtime again on day 2, so get all these bits and bobs done, and then we can get cracking this afternoon. So here we are, it's sort of nearly the end of the day, it's about 3:30. I'm not going to start putting the boards on, because when we got here this morning, I think it's supposed to freeze again tonight. Everything had this like coating of ice on it, so I'd rather, for the sake of like losing half an hour, I've got to get my head around a few other things to fascia and stuff like that. For the sake of half an hour, I'm not going to start decking this, because it will be absolutely treacherous in the morning. But as you can see, we've got on quite well. There's a lot of work that my mate has been spent all day just putting the hangers on, so there's a lot of work just in that. But anyway, it's all trimmed out now, and all the fairings are on, and I've just sort of sussed. I did end up cutting this part, this toe off, so what I'm going to do is keep the first layer of this OSB board flush with the end of this sort of toe detail, and then once I've got a mock-up here, look, you can see this is 160mm, which is insulation, and another 18mm on top, which is the top layer of OSB. We don't put the flooring straight on top of the insulation on this one, and looking at it, the fascia is going to be, look, if we get just down to the brickwork, sorry, up to the top there, look, it's just going to be, can you see that? 250mm, so that's going to be just about right, not too big. Obviously there'll be when this is done, there'll be a drip detail that the roof will put on there. So yeah, starting to look really good. I've got some absolutely massive long 200mm screws to screw down through the top layer of OSB right down into these joists. I've got to find a way, probably bring some chalk tomorrow, raid the kids' old chalk box and put some chalk marks up the wall where those joists are, just so that when we've got all this insulation on, we can still sort of ping a line and find where our screws are going and where we need to cut boards to. So yeah, I mean, there's probably 4 days work here, and the builders sort of basically given me 2, but there's no way we're going to get it ready in 2 days. So another good day, sun shining, which is absolutely fantastic. So we'll be back here tomorrow. Right, I think that's probably going to be enough for this video. Otherwise, the video is going to be really, really long if I try and get the whole roof in one bit. So we'll come back in the next video and start to get this roof wrapped up. Thanks for watching.